Rahobat Yasar. Welcome to another Paa Taraq reading with the Supreme Grand Council of 24 Elders. Paa Neshad will be read by K.T. Ma'at Ray.
Anunnaki ketima atre, panashed. Anunnaki dakal pa ashag empapod, wukalil ashag kawan dakoni. Anunnaki kasam unafaf papod, wupapod kawan kasam unafafni. Anunnaki wahu ama papod, wupapod kawan wahu amani. Nuk kadon naju ama kasan empapod, wukabub ama shakasun. Nuk kador kawan kalal pafaf nuk rakub dakul papod. Talamar rakhami kawan bakwe dakul papod. Anuki yabub bina fasni. Papod kawan anuki. Papod kador nuk kador. Papod amul nuk amul.
Proclamation. Likum, Nuapu, Nuapians. Look at those who cheat and speak untruths, yet they still claim to be one of us, one of our loyal populace. We true Nuapu, Nuapians have these proclamations. 1. Do not tread in the path of Dawao, evil, on his highway of lawlessness. 2. Do not lie about Wu Nuapu by rejecting Pa Munzal Nazdar Amunda Babu Reye Ahakbata. 3. Do not lie misusing our creed of truth, Hakak, by ignoring the facts. 4. Do not lie and claim you are a true lover of truth unless you are practicing it. 5. Do not lie and say you can be trusted and loyal to our true race, Nuapu, Nuapians, when you are not. 6. Do not lie and say you are the peacemaker when you are indeed the source of arguments, fights, and gossip. 7. Do not lie and commit atrocities by rejecting Ma'at, reconciliation, when other Nuapians wish to make up. 8. Do not lie and say you can be trusted when you sneak around violating all that you claim is best for our people. 9. Do not lie, deceive, cheat by acting and living in the image of this beast man of sin. If you undertake these responsibilities, let it be known by your actions. Paa Taraq will be read by Kamamtet Imhadhar Atun Ray.
Rahubat Yasar, Anunnaki, Nasutet, Kamamtat, Hadhar Atun Ray. Power of the language. Genesis 11. Likum, my beloved. Genesis 11, verse 1 to 7. That was all about language, not the tower. Read this over clear. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. Quote, and the whole land, Hebrew Strong's number 776, Arats, meaning land, firm, field, ground, earth. It is clear that it means the whole of Mesopotamia, not the complete planet Earth, as the word is used. So all the people they were taught the tongue of Adam. Being in the Bible, Genesis chapter 2, verse 19, Adam gave names. In Genesis 2, verse 20, that was a language of the Elohim or Anunnaki. Genesis 2, verse 20, quote, "And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him." This is confirmed in the Islamic Quran, chapter 2, verse 31, "And he, Allah, taught Adam all the names." So this Adam of 6,000 years ago was taught how to speak a tongue by his makers, Ha Elohim. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth." So Genesis chapter 11, verse 1 reads, "And the whole land was on one lip." Hebrew Strong's number 8193, Safa, meaning lip. That is the way one used their lips to pronounce words. It is the same word in Islamic tongue of Arabic, lip, Safat. And of one word, Hebrew Strong's number 1697, word, to arrange, speak, Arabic, to elapse. So it is clear that this first verse is dealing with speaking a certain way. You find the mistranslated words, language, and speech in most English Bibles to hide the true meaning of this chapter. It was not about a Tower of Babel, but rather about confounding the language, as you read in the last verse, number 9. So those creatures under the rule of Ha Elohim, the Anunnaki, taught this Adam a way to speak a tone, a frequency, a vibration 6,000 years ago, in part of the world called Mesopotamia. These Anunnaki needed them all to speak one tongue, while you read in Genesis 10 that there were many tongues. Ugaric, Ashuric, Akkadian, Sinai, Iraq, Kalni, Arabic, Chaldean, Sumerian, Cuneiform, Arabic. Then in verse 13, you see others from Africa, starting with Misraim, which is Egyptian, and Neptuhim, which is Napatan or Nuapic. There was many tongues spoken worldwide by the Elohim, needed their Lulu Amalu, Ab slaves under a spell of tone. So when they spoke inside their heads, they would obey. These Anunnaki could speak into their head to control them, the same as today. Some people still hear voices telling them, "Go out and kill." That is why they had them speak on one of their own tones. Why? In their book of John chapter 1 verse 1, it says, in quote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Now look at verse 14, "And the Word was made flesh." Now you see the power of the tongue, lips, voice box. It can incarnate into physical, as people call on the dead, spirits, ghosts to come forth in their rituals or prayers, as all the prophets of the religions of Abraham, the Chaldean of Mesopotamia. Genesis chapter 18, verses 1 to 8. Quote, "And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do, as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man. And he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So to enchant them into mental and physical slaves, as done in churches as gospel to call on spirits, Acts chapter 2, verse 2, and calling on evil Elohim, as in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 29. Quote, Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places, which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities whereinto they dwelt. Each race had their own tones to call on. Their Elohim who spoke to their religious prophets, their familiar spirits, Leviticus 20, verse 1 to 6. Family or familiar spirits who inspired their prophets, who lie, 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 21 to 23. And evil Elohim raised from the dead ghost, 1 Samuel 28, verse 13. Their Elohim come up out of the earth, ghosts, specters, called up in tones, names. As evil Yahweh's, 1 Samuel chapter 19, verse 9, 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 10, 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. Their Yahwehs and their Elohim, that is Rab and Alihat in Arabic, were evil, Deuteronomy 32, verse 17. The people who follow Ibrahim, who was Ibrahim, killing in the name of God. Look at all them that speak Semitic tongue, fighting and killing each other world over. His religions today are Mosesism, Jesusism, Mohammedism, and the many subgroups that follow the books of lying prophets who called on spirits that came forth as light, fire, burning bush, in Torah and cloven tongues in Gospels, and shining being in the cave in Arabia for the Quran, beings of the fire. Today, most don't know the facts because all the original books of their prophets were destroyed to hide the truth. It was all about tones, vibrations, frequencies, how you speak, sing, chant, and which tone or language, tongue. Your lips shape the words that call these specters to rule your body. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4 to 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 1 to 9. They call it receiving the Holy Ghost, speaking in tongues, when in fact it is possessions of the dead, ghosts, spirits, specters, evil one that take over their bodies. This is what music can do to a person or even a lecture. Preaching in tones, it takes over him. Then it affects the congregation. They think they feel good. So it started back in Mesopotamia when these Elohim, Alihat, Anunnaki taught their creation, Adamites, to speak one tone, one way, lips. And by that they named each of them in their language related to their dead spirits or ghosts. You are not one John, you are all Johns. You're all Yahudas, all Ahmed. You are all the spirits who have the same name as you, dead or alive. You call on a dead being, they come. You say Jesus, Allah, Congo, spirits can come as them to deceive you into thinking you're talking with a saint or Blessed Mother Mary or angels. It is all about tones, vibrations, frequencies, and your language, tongue. Your name is linked to spirits. So the Hebrews of Torah want you to have a Hebrew name. The Christians want you to have a Christian name, and the Muslims want you to have an Arabic Muslim name. They each have rituals where you offer your being to those tones. Mitzvah, baptism, shahada, rituals to their ancestor spirits. It's all about tones. The door is your heart. You open it up to them and they enter and take over your mind. It starts with a name. This is how it was done back then in Mesopotamia and how it is done today. It enforces the spelling. As you read on in Genesis 11, you see the point is they were united. Who united them? Nimrod, Genesis 10, verse 6. Quote, "And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do." Who was he? The son of Cush, Genesis 10, verse 6. Who was Cush? The son of Ham, Genesis 2, verse 13. You see Ethiopia, but under the Hebrew Strong's number 3568, Cush, meaning black-skinned race. The son of Ham, Hebrew Strong's number 2345, Ham, meaning swarthy, black, brown. Who was this in history or our story? Egypt's Sudan, Africa. We spoke our own tone, vibration, frequency since 54,000 years ago, long before the Adamites of Mesopotamia was taught Semitic tongue 6,000 years ago. Ham as Cam is Hebrew, and Cam is Arabic. Both Semitic towns came from Africa's Sudan or Ethiopia. Sudan equals Ethiopian, Ethiopian equals Meroe, and Napatha is Naptuhim in their Bible. In Genesis chapter 10 verse 13 and 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 11. That is Nuwapic, later called Sabine, Sabaic, Nabatean. Once Semitic tongues were mixed with it by invaders into Arabia and to Africa. You had it transformed into dialects, Abjads, Berber, Arabic, Hebrew, Madiak, Manician, Persian, Nabatean, Parthian, Phoenician, Sumerian, Gezic, Aramaic, Amharic, Syriac, Tifninag, Chaldees, Akkadian, Ugaric, Sogdian. They mixed with ancient Egyptian languages, so many think Nuwapic came from Semitic when it is the other way around. So this Ham's Sudan son Cush, Ethiopian, moved east to Mesopotamia, took a wife of them, birthed Nimrod, Babel, who was a Gibor, Hebrew Strong's number 1365. Gibor meaning a demigod, mighty one. In Arabic, it is Jabbar, meaning mighty, strong. It is one of Allah's own attributes. Number 9, Allah the Strong One, Allahu al-Jabbaru. So this Nimrod you read about in Genesis was an African who spoke Nuwapic when he grew. His mother took a wife for him of her seed, and he was a great man. His father taught him Nuwapic, his tone, so the Anunnaki could not get inside his head. and he taught Nuwapic to his followers. He renamed them as it says in Genesis 11 verse 4. So Nimrod broke that. He came and taught them a new town, new names, and the Anunnaki knew that would break the spell. Now the spell was broken. They spoke their own town and named themselves in Nuwapic, Napathan, Napatuim, Nabatian. This angers the Elohim, Anakim, and Anunnaki. So you see now they worked for self and kind, no longer slaves for their masters. Genesis 11 verse 2, and they moved away to set up their own land. Genesis 11 verse 2, quote, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Genesis chapter 11 verse 3, and they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. But you must note how this verse opens. And they themselves said, spoke one to another, to each other, not to their masters, did not ask permission, they spoke to each other in their own town, free to build on their own what they wanted. Genesis 11 verse 4. You see name, let us make a name. Hebrew Strong's number 8033. Sham is here, and name Hebrew Strong's number 8085. And heaven is Hebrew Strong's number 8064, all rooted in Sham, or we will be separated into others. Genesis 11 verse 5. And the Yahweh that was Enlil came down to earth to observe, see what they were doing. He, as God, did not know what was going on in their minds anymore. He had to come to see. Enlil had no power over these new beings. Enlil means En, Master, Lord, Lil, of the skies or heavens. Revelations chapter 3 verse 20, the same being at the door or gateway, Sin or Zuen, Suen, Nanar, Son of God, who art in heaven. The same, Revelations 22 verse 16, and Isaiah 14 verse 12. The same bright one, Ezekiel 28 verse 13 to 17. Thy brightness, Luke 10 verse 18. 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14. Light, fire, bright one, white one. He had to come down to earth from above to see what was going on, because they now were on their own radio station. He could not hear their thoughts, could not broadcast into their head. They no longer heard voices. The signals, transmission, communication was cut off. They had their own broadcasting tower, a high structure with antenna for receiving electromagnetic waves, frequencies, sounds, voices. They were cut off from these children of Adam. This part of the seed, Genesis 11 verse 5. Quote, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. Genesis 11 verse 6. What did Enlil see? That these new beings were united as one, and they spoke one language, town, Nuwapic, taught them by Cush and Nimrod. And Enlil saw and heard them speaking it, or as this they begin to do. Genesis 11 verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Now make note, he left, returned to above, and told what he saw and heard, and then said to his sons, Nanar and Ninurtha, Go to, let us, Enlil, Nanar, and Ninurtha, go down to earth and confound. Hebrew Strong's number 1101. Balal, meaning mingle, mix, fold, overflow, confound their language. You see, to mix up our pure tongue Nuwapic with their Semitic tongue, to why? Well, it says that they may not understand one another's speech. There it is right there, to confuse us by way of speech, language, tongue, dialect, how we speak, what we speak, the tones, vibrations, and our own frequency on our own radio stations, linked to our own ancestors. Read Genesis 11, verse 8. Quote, So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. So the Lord Yahweh Enlil, this Yahweh or living being, scattered them, us, abroad from thence, there, Mesopotamia, upon the face of all the earth. So you see, here it says all the earth, the whole planet. That is not what Genesis 11 verse 1 says. It was just that part of land or earth, Mesopotamia. Now we were moved all over. They returned back to Africa, some to land of Canaan, others mixed and moved northward to Haran, Turkey, Europe. So you see, we stopped building our radio towers over there and deserted our city in Babylon, upper and lower. Read Genesis 11, verse 9. So that was why it was called Babab, because of language, speech, tongue. Not the building of a tower to heaven, but a radio tower to communicate with Enki, Marduk, and Nabu, which are the Anunnaki we spoke with who came into Africa. So it was called the place of confusion, better, the place where tongues were mixed. So the true story is not about a building, but about Nuwapic coming to Mesopotamia and breaking the spell. Freed the minds from Enlil and his sons, Nanar and Ninurtha. Linked them back to Enki and his sons, Marduk and Nabu. Now reread it with a free mind, you will see. And what did the Anunnaki of Enlil do? In Genesis 11, verse 6 to 7, quote, And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. It was all about speech. So what did they do? Genesis 11, verse 8 to 9. Quote, So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Therefore is the name confusion, Babel. By what? Confounding the language. Nothing to do with destroying a tower. Another of their prophets' lies. So we must break his spell again. It was about Nuwapic, as it is now with you. Tune your frequencies to your own ancestors. My beloved jewel of my eyes, learn to speak our own tongue and break their spell. Shut off their station. Tabukum.
I Am Who I Am will be read by Nafar Ka Re Shabaku.
Anunnaki Nafo Kare Shabaku. I am who I am. 1. I have been with you because I love you all. 2. I am Zedi, Zetui, Zedi, Pa Manzal, Nathar, Amun, Nabab, Reye, Aka, Pata, the Zedi. 3. I will soon depart from you. 4. I incarnate from time to time to renew our timeline. 5. I am here, which is there now. 6. My time to depart is near, so I only wish you knew who I was to you. 7. I will return again and again. Look for me in the wind. Look for me in the waters. Look for me in the soil. Look for me in your dreams. 8. I will reincarnate again when needed. 9. This is my findings. 1. They look at me, yet they don't see the real me. 2. They listen to me, yet they don't hear what I am really saying. 3. They have touched me, and still they were not able to feel me. 4. They have kissed me, yet they did not love me. 5. They were born of my genes, yet they are not my child. 6. They followed me, yet not close enough. 7. They came to me, yet they did not stay. 8. They smiled with me, yet they did not mean it. 9. They greeted me, yet and still never meant it. Tawakum.
Tawakum Yasar. Please tune in every shadow at 8 p.m. for another Paa Taraq, and at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. for chanting with the Supreme Grand Council of 24 Elders. Wadawu Yasar.